Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the 2024 first Catch Up with Keeper webinar. While we give people a couple of minutes to go ahead and shuffle on in, would love people could drop into the chat and let me know where you're calling in from. Already some great geographic representation all across the board. Especially respect to Jessica from San Diego, who is getting up at 8 a.m. For this webinar. So thank you, Jessica. And Sadiq from India, I imagine it's got to be pretty late there as well. Awesome. So we're going to give folks another 30 seconds or so, and then we're going to go ahead and dive on in. Wow, Jessica continues to impress and or make me look bad for having crawled out of bed at 8 a.m. this morning. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get things started. So once again, thank you all so much for taking the time today. And especially thank you all for taking the time today, given that it is the very home stretch of the home stretch of 1099 season. So I hope I hope Keeper's tools, and especially some of the improvements that I'm going to talk about today, have been helpful over the course of the last month. And so really excited to recap and showcase all the new improvements that we have shipped. So in case this is your first Catch Up with Keeper webinar, one, welcome, and two, let me give a little bit of the ground rules, the way things work. So the agenda is split up into three parts. One part of those we don't have every month. So the first part is I'm going to walk through all of the latest features we've shipped over the course of the last month. After that, I'm going to open things up to some Q&A. And then last but not least, if we have an app showcase, we will turn time over for that. We don't have an app showcase this month, so we will give hopefully a little bit of spare time back to folks after the Q&A wraps up. And then one last piece before I dive in, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A section at the bottom of the Zoom screen here, rather than into the chat. It'll make it easier for us to find so that we can answer them. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. First things first, we have a little bit more accessibility for the newly released what we call custom folders in your files. And that is we added your files to be accessible right here from the client list. So if you need to upload a file to a client's folder, or you need to access a file, you don't even need to go into that client anymore. You can just come right here to the client list, open up your files, and see your entire file structure right here. So you can add folders, add files, everything that you can do within the client, you can do actually right here from the client list with respect to your files, except you can't view your auto-organized files. So because these are going to depend on things like your transactions, like your vendors, like your core sort of data that lives within the ledger, if you want to see those for a client, you do still have to go into the close page. Okay. Next on deck, and I know this is something that folks have been waiting for a long, long time, is multiple non-closing sections and the ability to hide sections once you're done with them. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into a client, and I'll talk here about what that looks like. So you can see right here in your non-closing tasks, for the longest time, we only had one non-closing tasks area, which is you would just pile everything in there. You would sort of try to disambiguate with tags. But now you finally can break these up into different sections. So you can have a general section that's sort of our non-closing tasks default. You can have a payroll section for all your payroll tasks. You can have a tax section for all your tax tasks, or however else you and your team like to divide up your work. One of the other really cool things about these sections is you can also now hide the sections. So for example, if you have an onboarding section, you can keep that open when you start with your client, and then you can hide it as soon as you finish your onboarding, which gets it out of your way. So it's no longer sort of there distracting you, but also you can also go back to see your completed tasks from there at any time, So if you have a file that's tied to them, if you want to go back and see some comment that you left on an old task, you're not deleting it, you're just hiding the section. And then one other really cool thing is this allows for a lot of flexibility with respect to what you can do on the client list. So I'm going to go back to the client list here. Of course, every section of tasks gets its own column here on the client list. So in this default view that I'm working on here, I'm showing my general and my payroll tasks. But you can also do things now like creating an onboarding view. So that onboarding section I created earlier, we can now see any tasks that are in that onboarding section only here. So it's a really good way to just show the list of your clients that are in onboarding, their status in onboarding, of course, see any files that might be relevant, see any questions you might have asked them in the portal. So like their intake questionnaire, their onboarding items that you need from them. And then, of course, on your end, you can see all of their onboarding tasks and then add tasks to there as well. All right. And now, without further ado, I'm going to talk about some of the cool new improvements we've added to the 1099s report. Okay, so first and foremost, we got approved so that we can now see all of the EINs inside of that live just inside of QuickBooks and pull them here into Keeper. So now if you enter an EIN into QuickBooks or into QuickBooks via some other system, previously we would only be able to see the last 4 digits, but now we can see all of those right here on the Prepared 1099s report. So this field is now fully read-write. Anything you sync here will, of course, sync back to QuickBooks, and now vice versa. So any changes you make in QuickBooks, we'll see the full 10-digit tax ID right here as well. Okay, another really important, I think, addition we added is the ability to add more metadata with respect to the 1099 details. So here, for example, we've got BB&B, and we can add what type of 1099 they need at year end. So we can say BB&B is going to get a 1099 NEC, whereas maybe 44 Main Street is going to get box 1 rents if you pay rent there. Maybe your lawyer is going to get box 10 attorney payments. So a lot of metadata that you actually can't even store in QuickBooks, you can now annotate and keep for your exports here in Keeper. And those two actually both come together to support the final 1099 improvement of the year, which is the ability to export this data into a Track 1099 or Tax 1099 style format. So I'll just export to Track 1099 for a second here. One note here is because I have some unknown vendors, it's going to flag that error, but that's fine. It will just only export the ones that have 1099 needed and the type specified. One thing to note here, this does download 2 files. So we've got the 1099 NEC report and the 1099 MISC report. If you don't see 2 files download, you only see 1 file download. Typically what that means is your browser is going to have blocked a download somewhere along the line. So you'll also typically see something in the browser bar that says like allow downloads of multiple files or block downloads of multiple files. So just make sure continue allowing automatic downloads of multiple files is selected. And then if we go ahead and pull that one up, we can see we have all of our 1099 details. So all we need to do from here is just take this, drag and drop it into Tax 1099 or Track 1099 or whatever e-filing solution we choose. And we should be able to file our 1099s. Simple as that. Okay, and last but not least, want to talk about a tiny improvement that I think we didn't get a ton of fanfare, but I do want to speak about this and then also some of the other improvements we're going to make in the future, which is a new addition to our client portal that lets your clients see thumbnails of the attachments on any transactions. And this goes whether the transactions are related to a receipt in Keeper's new receipts in beta, or whether this transaction lives on both Keeper or QuickBooks, and is tied to an already existing transactions in the ledger. So here, for example, we have this Ashby recruiting software charge, and then we can also see that there's a file attached there, and we can see that here. just by clicking this. So you can actually still see the file just by clicking View Files, even if you don't have this setting enabled. But if you do have the setting enabled, it will also add these thumbnails here. And I did want to mention this. This is gated behind a setting, and if you turn it on, it will turn it on for all clients in your practice. So if you want to do that, you go to Client Portal, Inbound Questions or Files, and then click Enable File Previews for questions. I did want to mention we are going to plan on adding some updates to make the Client Portal feel more modern, fresher, simpler to use and understand, to enable, disable certain pieces. And this is one of those improvements. But because we don't want to sort of foist any changes on you or on your clients that are unexpected, this is gated behind a setting. And those changes will also continue to be gated behind a setting. But I bring that up to say, if you do have improvements, things you'd like to see added to the portal, please don't hesitate to send them our way. We are always soliciting feedback, and this is what y'all are what we're making Keeper for. So with that, I will go ahead and pause and turn things over to the chat and Q&A, and see if I can answer some questions. Okay. So I'm going to talk about some 1099 questions first. A couple of you asked about 1099 INTs. So people asked about this eventually. The answer is definitely yes. Eventually there will be 1099 INTs, 1099 DIVs, and the range of different 1099 options that you might potentially need to export. Did not get here in time, unfortunately, for 1099 season this year, but will definitely be there in time for 1099 season next year, and well before that, so you can start to prep on your work as well. Okay. Shaolin asked if you can hide sections on the client level, and the answer is yes. So these actually are hidden on the client level. So if you have tax active in Democo, you can have tax hidden in a different client. Lisa asked, can tags be removed from the non-closing section? We don't use them. I think they automatically came with the setup. Some default tags do come with the setup. If you don't use them, the easiest way to delete them is you can just go to this gear icon if you're an admin, and then just click remove, and that will remove all the tasks, and you'll still see the gear icon, but you won't see anything else. I do want to mention here, otherwise Shane is going to bite my head off because this is a definite source of confusion with firms. If you delete a tag here, this is sort of like accessing your global task tags. If you delete a tag here, that is deleted globally throughout all of your practice settings. So please don't delete this if you think you're just deleting it from Democo, because that is in fact going to delete it everywhere. Shana, did I do good? Okay. All right, great. Ray asked if there are plans to allow different lists of tags for non-closing sections. I definitely think that is something that would make a lot of sense. I can't say it's immediately on the roadmap, but definitely is something that I think would be sensible and not too complicated. Okay. A few questions here about receipts timing, receipts functionality. So one question was, if clients upload receipts to Keeper, can we send them to QBO? The answer will be yes as soon as our beta for receipts goes public, which brings me to my next question here, which is, few of you asked if receipts is still in beta. If not, where can I learn more? So it is still in what we call a private beta. That means it's available to a very, very small number of firms, while there are a lot of sharp corners and rough edges that make for a very unpolished user experience. We are almost done with a private beta phase and should be going live with our public beta very, very soon. What that means is development is not done. And as you well know with Keeper, development is really never done. But once we get to a public beta stage, anyone can try it. But there still may be small kinks and small sharp edges that you need to watch out for. And of course, we still welcome feedback on. But so it should be going into a public beta very soon, which means folks, anyone who wants to try it will be able to do so. Okay. Heather asked, is there a way to sort the non-closing tasks by team member? Not currently, although we are working on some improvements to allow you to auto sort these by things like due date, by things like team member, things like tag. So definitely that makes sense, but not something that we support today. Sharon mentioned that being able to add custom non-closing sections per client would be helpful. Totally hear you. Definitely something that I think we'll be able to support in the future. Right now, you can, if you add a section, you actually do that through your sections manager. So you'll see here, manage sections. You can also get here from your practice and statements and then into sections. And so you can add a non-closing section here. You can choose to say, I want this hidden for all clients, and then you can only unhide it for the client that that applies to. I do realize if you have like a one-off, very specific project for a single client, that might be a little unintuitive, a little clunky way of doing things. So anyways, definitely something I think we can add in the future. But for now, you can kind of work around it by creating a non-closing section and then only making it visible for that client. Diana asked, is there a limit on what you can add to a client from the non-closing sections? The answer is no, not to my knowledge. If you hit a limit, let me know. But we've tested this pretty robustly, and there's not designed to be a limit. Kate asked, can you edit the colors of tags after they are created? The answer, I believe, is yes. The answer is yes. Yeah, it's right here, edit color. John asked if there's any update on the planned roadmap for archiving clients. Yeah, this is something that I think I've said repeatedly. It's like going to be live next month, going to be live next month. I do feel pretty confident it's going to be live either towards the end of next month or maybe in the beginning of March. It is not something that we are deliberately dragging our feet on, but it sort of spans very broadly into a lot of pieces of Keeper. And so we want to make sure that we don't mess things up when we implement archiving. Dawn asked, is there a plan to add an entity button? I've been putting S Corp in the notes, which is our recommendation. So I assume this is with respect to the vendor details. Yeah, that would make sense. I definitely think it's something we could add for 2025 is just adding the entity type. So yeah, it's a good piece of feedback. Someone asked, can we edit the names of custom properties? The answer is no, not yet. So unfortunately, if you do want to rename a property, you would just need to recreate a new one and copy over the values. Des asked, will there be an e-file my forms export available next year for 1099s? We are planning on adding support for other 1099 export platforms. So e-file my forms seems reasonable. I don't think it was on our list. I know e-file for biz was on our list. And then I think 1099 ET, like etc. was on our list. So definitely could add that one in as well. Okay, sorry, going through a few sort of duplicate questions here. Ray asked, can you create a report in Keeper based on a class from QuickBooks? The answer to that is yes. I will quickly show you how. So in your transaction review, you just go to add report, click add new report. In case anyone is confused what these two different options mean, by the way, add keeper task is like one of the pre-built tasks. So like add, if you deleted uncategorized transactions, a keeper task would allow you to add that back. But anyways, creating a report based on a class from QBO, you click add new report. You could say like transactions where class equals, I don't know what even our classes are in this demo file. So, but you can just choose if all of the following are true, or class is, and then I guess we could say admin here. You could also say where class contains admin, and then this would let you capture a broader array of options. But we'll just choose is, and we could say like animal, and we could choose even the animal subclasses. And where class is an animal. And then that would show, I don't know if we have any, yeah, we have one option here where the class is animal. Someone asked if there are plans to be able to adjust the column widths on the client list. The answer is yes, we are working on that. Okay. Kate asks, is there a way to bulk add contacts? Not currently. We can do this selectively on a one-off basis if you have tons and tons of contacts to add. So let us know if that's the case. And we can definitely help you out with that. But we are also looking into some bulk importing options that are available through the app as well. Okay, so it turns out I answered the wrong question for Ray, which was actually reports for the client by class in the monthly financial reports. So if the question, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, you can run, for example, a P&L by class just by choosing columns by class. So I'm not sure if that is the right answer to the second refinement of the question. Someone else asked for plans for plans for task dependencies. We are working on more support for things like task-based handoffs, multiple assignees onto a single task. And so that I think also includes task dependencies. So yes is the short answer. Elaine asked if there's any option to make the P&L or any plan to make the P&L expanded to the payee level available as an exportable report. The answer is it is something that we are working on. It's not something that's live today, but definitely agree with you that it's much nicer than the P&L detail report, hence why we built it in the first place. And so would love to be able to deliver that to your customers as well. Okay, Diana asked, I have a client with multiple companies and Keeper keeps telling me that the email is already entered. How can I add an email to multiple companies? Okay, so if you have a contact that's, let's say, a Democo contact, and then they're also a contact for Florida test facilities. If you're getting that error, the way to fix it is you click practice settings. You go here to your client portal, all contacts, and then you find that contact. And then you can add another client. So in this case, you could add Democo as access. And then just click save. Actually undo that here. Carol asked, is there a place to see all tasks for a client, past and present, newbie, keeper, user here? Okay, great question. Best way to see this is here on the tasks. And so what you could do is you can filter for a client. Let's say we wanted to filter for DemoCo. And then what we can do is we can unfilter the status. So right now it's just filtered on not completed tasks, but we could also include all completed tasks, which would let you see all tasks completed and incomplete for all time for this client. Kelsey asked about any plans to add a budget versus actuals. It is something that we are working on, hopefully for the earlier part of this year. Taylor asked about zero cash basis. It is also something that we hope to add, hopefully on a similar timeline. Sharon asked about an undeposited funds reconciliation feature. This is something that we are also in the sort of early days of researching and poking and prodding to see if we can add. So in the meantime, you can create undeposited funds as a reconciliation point in your account reconciliation section, but definitely working on some more added functionality there too. Laura asked, how can we get a print-friendly task list? So there's no way to print this today, but you can download it to a CSV. So I think that would probably be what I would recommend there. Okay. Des asks, when a client contact has access to multiple businesses, can you show us what their portal would look like and how it splits the different company requests? Sure thing, because this is one of them. So what you can see here is we're in DemoCo right now, and basically it allows you to switch between all of the different files that you have access to as a client. So here we can go from DemoCo to Florida test facilities. And then if you happen to be in Florida test facilities, we'll also let you know that there are other questions in other files here as well. Similar question here. Dawn mentioned that she has a client with 2 QBO files and now, of course, 2 Keeper files, and she uploads files to the wrong account. So as mentioned here, if you just switch to if the client just switches to the different client here, so they go from DemoCo to Florida test facilities, then they can upload the file to the right account. Joanna asked if clients use the checkboxes on the transaction questions screen, if that will let them bulk answer, and the answer is yes. That is exactly what it's for. Cindy asked, we have plans to allow adding tasks to the Chrome extension. And the answer is, yeah, that's definitely something that we want to add support for. We have a big plans in the works to really level up a lot of places in our Chrome extension. So add tasks and viewing tasks is definitely one of them. A couple of questions coming in here that look like they may be sort of one-off bugs or questions. So if I don't get to your question here, yeah, please, I guess, follow up here either to me personally or to our support team in our intercom chat, and we are also happy to take care of those there. Okay, Sue asked if the client can sort the transaction on the vendor name. They can't sort, but they can, or they can sort. I think that's actually just sorting based on amount. Yeah, sorting based on amount. Easiest way to do is just filter. So they can say, like, if you had 10 AP Indigo transactions, for example, they can just search for AP Indigo, and then that will allow them to just see that set and then bulk answer those transaction questions. Dwight asked if there is the ability to add due dates to client questions or requests. Not yet. Definitely, I think that is pretty commonly voted on candy, and I think falls well within some of the things that we would like to improve about the portal.
There are two that got lost in the chat that I think might be good to go over quickly. There's one on the preview that you showed earlier. If you could show how to enable that again. Someone asked if that's client by client, and I think that's in the practice settings.
The
Um,
oh the
View is in the
yeah,
port.
got it. Yeah, so that is your practice settings, client portal, um, inbound questions/files, and then this setting here, right here.
And then the second one is when you create tasks under one company, but you want to use them across the board, are you able to easily move them from the close page to a template, or do you need to redo it?
Um, Sorry, say that. Can you put that, like, say that again for me one more time?
Yeah, just if you can take tasks from the close page and create a template from them.
Oh, not currently. We are working on some major templates upgrades, and then I think that will be a feature that is unlocked shortly thereafter. But yeah, not currently today. Okay, Samantha asked, is there a way to get a demo account so we can record instructions for people on how to use their portal without having to record them individually or show other people's real information on the recording? So easiest way to do this would be to create an unconnected client, which does not have a um, it doesn't isn't associated with billing, or you could add a QBO client, create your recording, and then delete the client. So, for example, you could add your own practice books. We're working on adding a demo account, not something that we have today, unfortunately. And then also hoping to build in a like custom, like just basically link that you can use for a pre-built template recording. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Okay, Des asked about an issue with split expenses on the Prepare 29 report um, not being correctly excluded. I think this is a known bug and should actually be resolved shortly. So Des, I'll follow up with you individually as well. Okay. All right. I think that is pretty much everything here, folks. Thank you all so much for your great questions. Really appreciate them. Um, we'll give folks maybe another 30 seconds here to answer. I'll give people a full round minute here to answer any last minute questions here. Um, all right. Well, folks, welcome to 2024. I hope 1099 season has been a good one. Thank you all so much for taking the time. I'm really excited to work with you all over the course of the next year. Um, Please know that all the things that we have said we don't yet support, but would like support. We love getting customer feedback. It's how we build the tool. It's how we determine what's important. We're here to build this thing for y'all. So please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone else on the team. We have very robust mechanisms for getting that feedback centralized internally. Well, and with that, I hope everyone has a good last couple of days of January of the 1099 season, and look forward to working with you over the course of next year. All right. Thank you, everyone.